Hey folks, Everyone Loves Pirates here, and boy did a lot of stuff happen for Dwarf Fortress in May. That's what that 5 means, right, May? I think so. So we got a release. Actually, we got a few releases. We got a major percent release, 0.43.01. If you didn't know already, that 0.43 means it's 43% of the way done, or at least Toady seems to think so for what he wants to put in it. So here's what was new. If you've seen any of my videos recently, then you've seen a lot of the adventure mode stuff. And this is kind of a change for me where I actually get to comment on something after having messed around with it quite a bit. Most of these updates tend to happen at the end of the month. So the big things were being able to build your own adventure sites in adventure mode. That meant you can do carpentry, you can make a carpentry workshop, and you can make just about anything you can think of out of wood, at least structure-wise. You can also make beds and doors and some various furniture and stuff, but that's pretty much it. You can designate taverns and inns and libraries, but no one actually visits them right now. And we also had some stuff for Fortress mode as well. So a lot of the job management, so if you go to your J screen and then hit M for manager, I believe that's the right order, then this is what has changed a lot there. You can put conditions on work orders. You can actually specify the details, what materials or images you want in work orders as well. So if you want, as he mentions, like 30 different versions of, or 30 of the same statue of where, you know, you're splaying an elf out in a spiral on the floor, you can do that, which is really cool. Also allowing perpetual work orders, so they just keep on going and going. This is something I haven't messed around with quite as much. I don't know. I've been working on a fortress in the new version for the first time, just kind of checking things out. And I don't know if it's bugged or it's just programmed in a way that seems counterintuitive to the way I would do things. Plus, you got to wait for your manager to get around to validating orders and stuff like that. So it maybe I was just too tired and wasn't quite paying attention. But I had a little issue with some of the conditional work orders working the way I expected them to work. But it's something that if it is a bug, obviously it'll be addressed. And if it's a problem with me, which is quite possibly the more likely option, then I'll figure it out as well. Obviously, you got to give it a little time before even the wiki gets updated for new things that are in these new versions. So we also got a 43.02 release. Most of this was just little bug fixing kind of things. Big ones with adventure sites, obviously being new, had some issues. And really, that's about it. Now, he mentions a little bit about a kind of event that's happening on the 11th of June. I'll hit that a little bit later as well and continue working on bugs until we got 43.03, which is quite cool. So I can't say a lot of these bugs I knew about them beforehand or I had run into issues specifically with them. So there's really not a whole lot for me to comment on here. If you see any that particularly seem to make you happy that they have been fixed or at least started to be addressed, then leave something in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But basically, there you go. Just a whole lot of bug fixes and updates. And that's really what we can expect here in the future as well. So here you can see there's been a little update on the 25th talking about had some issues, but is going to be heading on to the 64-bit version. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, but I do want to show you the future of the Fortress real quick. As usual, I don't spend a lot of time on this because it is such future-facing questions and answers that, I don't know, for me, I'm a fairly patient person, and the way I can do that is by not getting too worked up about what's going to be, you know, months or years down the road in Dwarf Fortress and other things that I'm patient about as well. So if you're interested in a lot of this stuff, definitely follow the link. Obviously, there'll be plenty of links in the descriptions as always, but I'll just let it scroll a little bit while I talk about it. You saw a lot of stuff in here about the new myth generation system, and really a lot of people were mostly interested in magic and how that had to work in there. Honestly, as I've mentioned before, I don't really care about magic all that much. I prefer a much lighter kind of fantasy world, but there's people out there that want to create something crazy, and that's what's great about DF is that you'll be able to do that. He talks a little bit more about 64-bit not really being a necessity, but definitely helping with memory and helping on the Linux side of things as well. And really, there wasn't a whole lot about the current version that I was all that interested in. In fact, there was very little about it at all anyways. He talks a little bit about the artifact arc and fleshing out some more different types of societies, kobolds being fleshed out a little bit better and things like that. But once again, that's all in the future. I did mention that, we don't really have proper taverns in the Dwarven Hillocks, and that adventure mode stuff doesn't actually do anything right now, even though you can build it. And lastly, let's take a look at the Bay 12 Games report. Obviously, this is where you can go see how much money people have given and where you have an opportunity to give as well. Of course, that's anytime, everywhere, but there's a lot of good information on this page every month as well. So here they go into a little bit more detail about the compiler that they're using for the 64-bit version actually trashing the main computer and why, that affected things, and how our donations definitely help keep the game in development moving on. So, as always, at the end of the video, I just like to encourage you, if you've gotten any sort of joy out of Dwarf Fortress and haven't given yet, or you've gotten a lot and it's time for you to give again, which is definitely the case for me, I just keep on putting it off because I want to make a very specific drawing request, and I want to think of the nicest way to request that without sounding like a pain in the butt. But that's just a stupid excuse. If you enjoy the game, or you enjoy watching the game, or just enjoy reading the what do you call them, the Fortress stories, the not necessarily Let's Plays, but the my brain's just gone completely blank, and it has to be at the end of the video, of course. But the Succession Fortresses, if you like those sorts of things, whatever it happens to be, just think about maybe sending them a few bucks. If you do, you get a awesome story reward or crayon art reward, and you can see one of the ones that I got when I requested a Dwarfy pirate on as the thumbnail for a lot of my old adventure mode stuff that's about a year old now. So there you go. That's what's been going on in Dwarf Fortress in May. For the future, we're not going to expect a whole lot. A few more bug fixes, maybe, if not just one bug fix release. And then they're going to be moving on to the 64-bit version, which I don't really expect to see any gameplay type releases for probably a couple months, if not longer than that after that, which is why I think this is going to be a perfect time to put out my tutorial series for newbies. Well, thanks for watching, folks. If you have any sort of further questions or anything you'd like to bring up, the comment section is right below. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will see you in the next Dwarf Fortress video or streaming or whatever it happens to be. Bye-bye.